Hi, Dawn Lewis here, and it is day 5 of our 7-part video series featuring Painted Rose by Concord and Ninth, which you can find in Australia at dawnlewis.com.au. If anything is out of stock or not stocked at all, please check the pre-order form and you can order it in. For today, I'm just using this layering stamp, this big one, as well as Distress Oxide inks, a mini mister full of water, my mini misty stamping tool. I get those two confused when I say them. My brain tends to go faster. So I'm using Candied Apple today. It's a beautiful oxide ink, but today I also want to show you the difference between how this looks in oxide and regular. I'm going to ink up my stamp and spritz it with water. Oh yes, stamping it onto my white cardstock, and look at what I've got. This beautiful, big, perfectly blended mush of red. It's so stunning. Now you could leave this to dry naturally, but I've sped up the process to heat it with my heat tool and dry it out quickly. But I wanted to show you, here is a Candied Apple Distress Ink regular, not the oxide, and I thought I would show you on a sort of a scrap of leftover cardstock, and I'm using watercolor cardstock today, how this looks. And you've also got the option with your watercolor cardstock, there's usually a rough and a smooth side. For this, it works really well on both. I've inked up with the regular Distress ink, stamped it, spritzed it and stamped it, and you can see that it's I probably spritzed it a little too generously, I'll be honest. So I'm going to hit this with the heat gun and dry it off so that you can see both of these side by side. The ink is the same color, Candied Apple. Here is the oxide ink on the left, and we've got the regular ink over here on the right. Now, at first glance, it might not seem that there's a lot of difference. The reds do look a little bit different, but see that white effect there? That's the oxidization effect that you get. So they're not hugely different. I mean, it is the same color. So it did occur to me that this big red blob was a little bit murdery, maybe a little bit Dexter. So I'm going to layer up some other colors. I'm using Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide and Spiced Marmalade Distress Oxide. I've inked up most of the stamp with the pink and then thrown a little bit of the orange on the side. I'm going to mist it a little less enthusiastically than I did last time and pop that over the top, and boy did this blend out nicely. Now here is the frame technique I used a few days ago, and you can see how I'm lining up my black cardstock with in the corner where there are lines on my mat, and I am lining up my ruler on lines on the mat. So the border I'm cutting all the way around is 1/2 centimeter, and it makes this really fine border. Now the inside, I will use that for cutting out the sentiment that I'm going to use today, and it works really well. I do find I need a shim to cut this out. It is really fine sentiment, and you don't want to lose the dots over the eyes. The dots over the eyes, did you know, is called a tittle. So a jot and tittle must be crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Who knew? I'm using Tombow mono adhesive for the adhesive here. You could use any liquid glue, or you could actually put your cardstock onto a double-sided adhesive paper before you cut it out. So I'm popping the eyes onto the thinking on the 2 eyes I've got there, and if you do lose your eyes, you could always draw one in with a fine black liner. That's happened to me before, and it works just fine. It doesn't have the dimension, but it doesn't really matter. So I am going to keep this card super simple. There is no more, fancy detail to it. This is making a big bold statement with that big bold background stamp. 3mm double-sided tape is perfect for this, and you want to place your frame down, specifically first get it straight along the fold edge. And I've also cut the watercolor paper that I've stamped on to fit. You want to make sure your card's right way up. This doesn't fit exactly inside the frame. It fits just over, and it works really, really well. So here we have this fantastic statement card, thinking of you, perfect to send to a friend who you just want them to know that they're in your thoughts, whatever they're going through. I do hope you have been enjoying this video series and you're learning a few ways to get more use from your stamp sets. I do hope that you have a very crafty day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.